Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the F1 22 My Team Career Mode Episode 2. This is a Saudi Arabian Grand Prix weekend in Jeddah. This is the first time I have raced on this track, on this game. This is my first experience with it, and as you come to find out, I think I'm pretty rapid around this track and I very enjoyed it. I'm going to start off by showing you some practice programs. This is a race strategy practice program. Basically, you want to get through the lap underneath the delta, and it will just tell you your tyre wear and stuff at the end of the lap, and it will also give you some resource points, which is amazing about these practice sessions, as you probably already know. As I'm already 4 tenths up on this lap, we're going quite fast around this circuit. That turn there is one of my least favourite turns, turn 7 I believe, as I keep on blundering it, I keep on braking too late and I overshoot it. That is a thing upon this track. I do blunder loads of the corners, and I know my pace probably isn't the best, but we are going around this track in a blistering speed. I'm going to show you most of the practice so you guys get an idea of the track before the race. Qualifying will be full this week. This week will also be a 50% race rather than a 5-lap race. Well, this episode, because last episode was mostly menus. I want to show you most of the racing in this episode. Actually, what I didn't show in the last episode is that we actually do have some upgrades that have been onto the car for this race, and I'm pretty sure an aero upgrade and a chassis upgrade has been put on this car for this race, so the car will be performing a bit better. Obviously, last race, phenomenal finishing position. I'm hoping to try and get another points finish today, because that will get us closer to getting that bonus from our sponsor. And as you go, we get a good enough lap there, and then we finish again getting a best lap. We're getting a perfect lap time for this practice program. And as you can see there, the tyre wear is a little bit above average, which is very good. Next is a track acclimatization. Now for this, you want to be going through these gates with precision and speed. Purple means you do it perfect, green means you kind of messed up a little bit, and red means you absolutely screw it, like that like corner 3 there. And corner 4, I'm pretty sure I do very well. Corner 5, yep, that's another purple. But this next corner, corner 7, I completely miss, and that fucks up my entrance into corner 8. That becomes a running theme. I do this 3 times. Corner 7 on the first 2 attempts, I absolutely blunder, but on the 3rd one, I get corner 7 perfectly. But I'm going to show you this whole lap, as this just shows, I believe my pace around this track is definitely very strong, and I believe the Saudi Arabian track this year is going to be one of my stronger tracks when playing the game in the career mode. Also, I'm announcing this now, me and my friend are going to do a COP career mode on our group channel, The Lads, so if you want to see that, I don't know when the episode is going to be coming out, but it'll be coming out as soon as possible. As you can tell, I'm getting these corners. Corner 24, not as good, but I give these DRSs right on point. DRS is pretty easy to get on time to get a purple on them, so it's not that much of an issue. And here we go. We go around the last corner now, onto the DRS straight. We nearly messed up that corner, actually. We nearly missed the gate, but we still get a purple, and we finish with a 795 score. As you can tell, the next target is a 795, I think. Yeah, they want me to do it again, and I just decided to go out and try and beat my score, which I end up doing with an 815 score, or maybe an 835, I believe. Can't remember. I think 845 score. We get a better track acclimatization. I'm not going to show you much of this, but this is the qualifying pace, trying to get the best qualifying lap. And this is what I mean by my pace being very strong in this Grand Prix and race weekend, because I am 1.8 seconds up on my predicted lap time, which I believe ends up actually getting me a lap time which is predicted to be the top 6 by the end of practice. And yeah, we're gonna now go on to the qualifying.
Good job indeed.
And with the cars now over the line, let's see our top three again. Ace, Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. What an incredible practice session that was. But the fun doesn't stop here though.
As we start qualifying now, I am out on a flying lap currently in this. So, coming into qualifying 1, I was very, very confident, knowing my pace in practice was very, very strong. As I now go round the final corner on the Saudi Arabian circuit to get a good just slingshot out of the corner to try and get myself the best place to cross the line to start my qualifying lap. For this qualifying session, I ended up going with only one lap, which is the lap you are seeing now. I ended up pushing the car to its limits, which is a theme throughout the weekend from now, as I try and push the most I can out of the Hyper Motors car. Sorry, I'm slapping my leg if you can hear that. And yeah, I believe from after the track acclimatization, and I told you about corner 7, I believe, as you just saw, corner 7 was a much more immaculate, much more closer to that race line, and not as scuffed as it was during that first track acclimatization and the race strategy. During this lap, I thought I was going a bit slow maybe. I didn't really know, because obviously, as you saw in the practice session, I was P1, but obviously no other drivers probably would have done their qualifying pace in P1. I was able to do all my practice programs. As you just saw, I did not my wing on that wall, which I ended up getting wing damage later, but ended up not meaning anything, as I did end up only doing this lap and skipping to the end of qualifying 1 after this lap, which is basically, I ended up doing a one-shot qualifying for this qualifying. Probably shouldn't have ended up changing it, but you know, we move. But pace here, I am using overtake here on the ERS. We turn around the final bend with 1 minute 25 currently. Here we go, I was pushing very high. I ended up using all my deployment here, and crossing the line with a 1 minute 33.123 lap time, which ends up out of Q1 putting us 7th position, which is absolutely phenomenal. That is even better than the one-shot qualifying at the Bahrain Grand Prix, as now that means I'm definitely through into Q2. But I don't actually end up going and doing a lappy Q2. I wanted to give myself a bit of a challenge, as I realised the difficulty might be a bit too low, as I ended up qualifying P16th, which ends up being next to my teammate.
So here we are then, welcoming you today to one of the jewels of the Arab world, Jeddah. One of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia, second only to Riyadh, gateway to Mecca, and one of the biggest ports in the region. And now, host to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah street circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Russell, Carlos Sainz, and Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Gasly, and Valtteri Bottas, Tsunoda, Norris, Kevin Magnussen, and Mick Schumacher, Joe, Ace, Jack Aitken, and Daniel Ricciardo, Vettel, Albon, Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
It is race day in Jeddah right now, and I am here looking at this race strategy, which is a medium to hard tyre compound strategy. One stop, which is a strategy I'm going for. Obviously, I'm just changing it, having a look at it, and changing lap times to see if I can try and make up any projected race time. I don't think I actually can, so I just leave the strategy to the same as we go down to the track in the second. Here we go, the very start of the Jeddah Grand Prix. 5 red lights. And away we go for the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, the second Grand Prix of Season 1. We are in P16. Oh, we dipod down the inside. We are now P13, going for P12, going for the overtake around the outside of Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda stays ahead of us. We still have both, we overtook both Haas's and someone else to get P13. Norris is trying to look for overtake on Gasly up ahead, but we are trying to stay on Yuki Tsunoda here in the AlphaTauri. We end up breaking on that corner dodgily. I believe that was corner 7. Like I said to you earlier, one of the dodgy corners on this track for me, and we end up losing a lot of time to Yuki Tsunoda. And now we are trying to make sure we get through this lap without taking any large amounts of damage. We are staying on the back of Yuki Tsunoda though. We are in his slipstream, dive bomb down the inside for an amazing overtake on the AlphaTauri driver. Now this gives us clear air to try and chase Lando Norris. Oh, but Yuki Tsunoda looking to go down the inside, which turns into an outside maneuver, and I turn and we get it. But attempts on the overtake caused Kevin Magnussen to get the overtake on Tsunoda as well. Tsunoda has lost another position, and now Magnussen is going around the outside. He's ahead. He's got the position. I bottle it down the inside, and I take back my position near enough straight away. You can see the gap from me towards the pack leaders there, as Max Verstappen's already finished. Lewis Hamilton is in the pits. It seems like he has damage on his Mercedes. He must have collided with someone up front. That is wonders for every smaller team, which gives smaller teams more of a chance to get into that point, as one of the top runners aren't in it currently. Now I am now trying to chase Lando Norris still. There's now a gap between me and the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, and now again I messed up that corner, but now I'm just trying to catch up to Lando Norris. Well, on this lap here I forget to use my ERS for most of it, which is why it's such a high percentage. I'm pretty sure I end up getting told by Mark Priestley to slobber on that ERS. There you go. So that's when I looked and saw I had like 70% ERS, so I turn that overtake button on for this straight, and now you can see how much faster I am catching up to the McLaren of Lando Norris. I am bottling it in towards him. I'm right up his rear, and I'm going for a move down the inside. There is some contact between us, but I don't think anything, or maybe I made him slow down. That was a nice overtake by me. Now I'm on the hunt for the other AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly, one of the only AlphaTauri driver to ever win a Grand Prix. Will I be able to get the overtake on him? Obviously, he has been maybe held up a bit here by the Alpine, who's holding up Valtteri Bottas. DRS has been enabled for this lap. Geez, at the next DRS straight, I'll be able to get it on Pierre Gasly, but actually I don't think I will, because I've went for the overtake here, and I am within a second of Valtteri Bottas. So if I stay within that delta, I can get DRS. We're going to be speeding up a bit here, as not much actually goes down. It's mostly me just catching up to Valtteri Bottas. Pierre Gasly loses a lot of time to me behind. Lap 3 here, I believe something's about to go down with one of the Williams in just a second. There you go, there's a green flag, there's a yellow flag, and here it comes. Nicholas Latifi is out of the Grand Prix, and I believe that is due to an engine failure on the Williams. Now that has to make you wonder, will Alex Albon finish the race in his Williams car, or will his Williams car also have that same engine failure? That doesn't affect me though, as I am ahead of both Williams cars. But that yellow flag sector will be annoying if I go for an overtake there. But we've got DRS of Valtteri Bottas. We're going for a move round the outside. Valtteri tries to squeeze us. He leaves off the squeeze round the outside, but Valtteri Bottas goes back on the squeeze, gives us wing damage, forces us to corner cut. We have to hand back that position, but Yuki Tsunoda out of nowhere takes back, and that was Pierre Gasly taking back that position I got from a couple laps ago. And now I was screwing at this point, because I noticed that the pace that I had with this broken wing already was a lot slower. And look, Lando Norris is caught right back up to us. And yeah, I was not happy with this at all. It felt like all the progress I made thus far in the Grand Prix has just been taken from my grasp as Lando's going for an overtake. But I believe there was contact to end up pushing him to the side. But you can see how much faster he is in that McLaren over us. And I'm pretty sure at the end of this lap I end up choosing to end up going in. Maybe it's next lap I go in for a set of hard tyres. You know, it's this lap. And what I don't get here, I'm looking to go in the pits and Lando just fucking runs into me. I don't know what he was thinking. But we're in to the pits now for a wing change. So is Lando Norris here. I want a sub 5 second pit stop, but I have to remember my pit crew are very inexperienced, which is we're going to have a slower pit stop. That is evident here. You may be wondering right now, they put on the wing, why aren't I going? Lando Norris ends up jumping us in that, ends up jumping us in the pit lane, which means we come out P21, which is last place in the Grand Prix due to Latifi being not DNF'd. And now I did not realise how cold these hard tyres were going to be and how hard it is going to drive. As you'll be able to tell, I ended up missing some of the apexes and I have to go a lot slower to make sure I don't end up going off the track here. And we lose a lot of time to Lando Norris. But with these hard tyres, my pace does end up improving. But we have to wait for that, as right now we are now just going in for Lando Norris. Hamilton and Stroll are 20 seconds nearest ahead of us here. So me and Lando are going to have to go on for this catch-up game. But Lando Norris, Guan Yu Zhou and Hamilton are all on a softer compound of tyre. Guan Yu Zhou must have had some contact as he's in the pits early as well. And that gives us a position up to P20 now. I believe Lando Norris over these coming laps his pace just shoots right down, and that just becomes amazing for us. As you can tell, I'm just looking at the car, looking at the temps, and I can see the temps have warmed up, and I already knew that they had warmed up because the car already on this lap feels so much better than the previous lap when I had originally come in. We are now bottling it towards the quarter-way point, I believe. We are basically over a quarter way through this weekend now, and I am now, at least right now, it's a squeaky bum time to try and catch up to Lando Norris. Lando Norris currently this weekend, the McLaren car is actually the better car on paper than the Hypermotors car. This weekend the Hypermotors is now the third worst car due to McLaren having some much more upgrades than we do due to our facilities. We don't have the facilities to put on multiple upgrades in the same departments at once. But Hamilton is pulling away from Lando Norris here, but I am actually pulling towards Norris here, as at the start of this lap the delta was about a 2.8, it's gone down to about a 2.4 and a high 2.3 delta, and this really was the make or break of my Grand Prix. I believe this stint was the most important stint of the race for me, is if I didn't do well here to catch up to the pack, I don't think I could have got anywhere near the finishing position I did in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And look at that. Look at it, how quick the Delta's gone down. Lando Norris either has some sort of problem, maybe something with his engine, because he is slowing right down. At the start of this lap, we're on a minus 2.3. We've already gained about a second on him in this lap. And here I come. I'm now under a second, which means on the next DRS strip, I am going to have DRS on Norris. And here we are with DRS, overtake mode. I'm not using it, but here I come. I'm trying to catch up here to Lando. Here we go, we're braking. We're now right on that bender of Lando Norris. Hamilton is in the pits again. He must have more contact or another problem with his car. Here we go. I see Lando Norris taking a more inside route line, defending down the inside, trying to squeeze us here. I go around the outside in this chicane, down the inside, and I get that position. But now Lando, we're still side by side here. I haven't totally won this battle yet. Lando Norris here is ahead, but the battle is still very much going, and I get it, and there is maybe a bit of contact between me and Lando Norris, and I believe I get the position. But now, as I look, I have to catch up to Lance Stroll and my teammate Jack Aitken, who are 10 seconds ahead of me on track, which means again, I'm going to have to put my elbows out and just try and just put some qualifying laps out there to try and get around the track as quickly as possible, while not forgetting that Lando Norris is behind me. He's on the softer compound of a tyre, which means he is going to be a lot faster than me, but he is already outside of a second, which means he does no longer have DRS on me. But now we speed it up again here, and I am now going to my pace, I believe I have the fastest lap, but I have to get into the top 10 to even have a chance of getting. I have to be in the points to get a point for my fastest lap. So the fastest lap means absolutely nothing to me as of this point in the race. We are still pulling from Lando Norris here. We're mostly pulling on Norris in the corners, on these straights here. Lando Norris does actually gain some seconds back. Guan Yu shows about 8 seconds behind us in that faster Alfa Romeo car. And here we go, around the hairpin. And we have already caught up majorly to our teammate Jack Aitken and Lance Stroll as they are battling for P16 up the road. We have caught about 3 seconds on them now. And honestly, this Grand Prix was one of the most fun Grand Prix I've ever had in any F1 game. I love this track to bits, even though it's my first time ever racing on it. And this is probably the hardest I've ever had to push on this game to try and get anything out of this race. As I thought that first wing collision was going to be my race over and done there. But oh, wait, as you can see, there is a problem with my rear wing. It is a DRS problem. My DRS is offline, the rear wing is stuck. This makes the next part of my race incredibly tough, as it's going to make overtaking on the straights so much and defending so much harder, as I will not be able to add DRS even if I'm in within 1 second of the car ahead, which means I'm going to have to rely on my raw car speed, which we all know is not very fast, and my ERS, which for the rest of the race stays around that 10% area, as my ERS is not very upgraded, which means it's incredibly hard to recharge it as we overtake people who are in the pits. And Gasly gets ahead of Jack Aitken. We are catching up now. I am now catching up to Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly is on the hard tyres. We have to remember, he's just come out the pits. Those hard tyres are very cold, and it's going to be incredibly hard for him to get some good pace here. Like I did on my first outlap on the tyres, the same thing will be happening to Pierre Gasly right now. We may be on doubly the worn tyre he is, but our tyres are in 10, which means our pace is probably better than that of the Alpha Tauri. Jack Aitken is, I believe, behind the Alfa Romeo. I believe that'll be Valtteri Bottas he's behind. I believe that's an Alfa Romeo. I can't really see too much on the screen I'm watching this race on right now, but we are trying right now to catch up to Pierre Gasly and go for an overtake. But right now, normally we would have DRS on Gasly. This is what I mean. We'll be catching Gasly at a fast rate if we did have DRS, but we just don't have DRS, which is on the straights. we're probably not going to be able to get it unless we use ERS, but I'm saving the ERS right now. I believe I'll take it for this trick. Jack Aitken has come into the pits for his first stop, and we are now in the top 10, which is now when, if I finish here currently, that point I've got for the fastest lap will come into a fruition. We do collide a little bit with Pierre Gasly, but we go for that overtake. We still have the rear wing problem, and I'm currently just biding my time, waiting for that problem to fix itself, as now we go and try and catch Valtteri Bottas, the man who originally gave us the wing damage earlier in the Grand Prix. We're coming back. We have made all our losses back, and we are now almost in the final stages of the Grand Prix. There is only 12 laps, not including this one, left of the Grand Prix. Again, we just got to put our elbows out, and we've just got to go and push as hard as we physically can to catch up to the Alfa Romeo, which is again the faster car on track. He is currently behind the Mercedes of George Russell. George Russell being held up by two Alpine cars up the road of Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso, and George Russell battling for P7. Alonso and George Russell. Alonso again battling with a Merc car like he did at Bahrain, except it is the less experienced Merc driver of George Russell. And now getting very close to Bottas. We still do not have DRS, which means right now we would normally have DRS on the ban, but we don't, which means allowing him to pull away because the Alfa Romeo is the faster car on paper. But right now, that's me again checking the tyre wear and checking if my rear wing is still stuck shut, and it is. And here we go though. I'm using all that ERS. Bottas is not using the ERS, however. And here we go. I believe I'll go for a dive bomb. A very aggressive maneuver down the inside. There's a bit of contact again. A bit of revenge by me maybe on Valtteri Bottas, although I don't believe he had any wing damage. Now this is my chance. I'm going to go and try and overtake Fernando Alonso. Can I finish ahead of Alonso 2 Grand Prix in a row? We're already ahead of the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, who has had a mare this race. Could this be 2 races in a row where one of the Merc drivers don't finish in a points paying position, as Russell in the Bahrain Grand Prix didn't finish in a points paying position? I believe he finished P19 or P20. I cannot remember totally. But here we go. There we go. That's just Mark, the engineer, telling me that the tyre grip is about to fall, and I can already feel it. I'm like, bruh, I can feel these tyres falling apart. As now Bottas is now hurtling it towards me, and there you go, you just see him overtake. But if you look at the bottom where there was the exclamation mark before for my rear wing, there isn't one there anymore. The rear wing has been fixed. It would have been nice if my engineer told me, which I think would have been smart, but I didn't know at this point. I ended up finding out, I believe, when I go into the pits for my next stop, as I'm the only driver actually out here. Go for a 2-stop strategy right now. But yeah, we're losing monumental amount of time to Fernando Alonso and the drivers ahead, and we are also losing time to Valtteri Bottas, which is when I knew, I believe I pit next lap. This is how I knew I had to pit, to try and maximize the amount of points, because I knew if I set out like this, Bottas, Pierre Gasly, and perhaps the driver behind Pierre Gasly will be able to overtake me, which may lead to me losing the points paying positions. And obviously, I want the points paying positions. It'll be amazing. Here we go, that's me. I've put in the request to box. As you see, I end up accidentally cutting that corner again there, as I end up screwing up the braking zone. And now I'm just trying to put out one of the best in laps I physically can. You can just see me checking. I've went to press no just in case I had a tiny bit of wing damage, as I didn't want to lose any time repairing the wing. The wing felt amazing. It felt nice. The car was feeling silky smooth on this track, doing everything I wanted to. And here we go, around the last corner here. And now hopefully we don't have any. Bottas does not come to rear end us. We're going to the pits for our final stop of the race.
And it looks like the pit crew are out in the lane and ready to make magic on the car. They're going to be able to achieve the fastest pit
fastest pit stop times possible. That is definitely what I want. Here we go, I'll pull into the pit stop. We go for a race, but look!
Looks like there's an issue with one of the rear wheel attachments.
The rear wheel doesn't get on in time, which means a 4-second stop, which is absolutely abhorrent, which puts us all the way in P16 now, which is definitely something not what I wanted there. I believe if it wasn't 4 seconds, I probably could have been at least P15, P14, head of the Haas, head of the Aston Martin, but the Williams car is right behind us, so is our teammate. Hopefully our teammate can gain a position on the Williams car, because the Williams car is slower than the Hypermotors car, and now, that's the thing. Immediately the soft tyres cold feel a lot better than the hard tyres do, and that's the thing. You're going to see right now, the pace I have over these drivers now, with the new soft tyres, the not worn soft tyres. Look at how fast I've caught up to Sebastian Vettel in this lap. It is true, however, that my car is faster. Here we go. We're now